ladies and gentlemen.
We need to elect more Democrats in the Senate, the House, and state houses.
I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America.
Impeach 45! Impeach 45!
We're introducing articles of impeachment to remove President Trump from office.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 28 years old, never ran for office before.
She represents the future of our party.
We need to occupy every airport. We need to occupy every border. We need to occupy every ICE office.
This is not an end. This is the beginning.
We are going to resist. We will not be silent.
Our government lies.
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor.
And it's extraordinary the degree to which they will classify information in the name of embarrassment or political ideology.
What difference at this point does it make?
And avoid telling the American people the truth.
I do not have bias.
You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest.
If you're Donald Trump, why would a KKK white supremacist guy want people to vote for you?
And then you merchandise it.
Over the last 12 months, Trump has amplified his racist rhetoric and policies.
It's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you care about.
You see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Do you think the Electoral College should be abolished?
I said that in 2000.
We have to just abolish the Electoral College.
There are no moderate Democrats, basically.
If we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again.
Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham.
In on him.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency.
Trump will resign.
Trump is going to resign.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said it over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
It was the beginning of the end today.
The beginning of the end.
It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
His presidency is crippled.
December 1st, 2017, you can mark it down. This is the day that everything changed.
We begin with the bombshell.
The beginning of the end?
The beginning of the end.
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 In fact, if this were a football game, we're in the third quarter. May even be the beginning of the end.
We begin tonight with the bombshell. Donald Trump is in a lot of trouble.
Trump is in trouble.
The president will resign.
Another hour, another bombshell.
This is a tipping point.
Trump's going down.
This president could be impeached.
I do not think the president will serve out his term.
Resignation.
I don't think this president is going to serve out his term. Mr. Trump will not serve out his term.
He will not serve out his term.
No way. No how.
Breaking news.
Absolute bombshell. I think Donald Trump is in trouble.
Donald Trump is not. He's done. And it's over.
It's over.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
This is going to be the Achilles heel.
Breaking news tonight. I expect Trump to depart. This week will be the watershed week. Trump is in big trouble.
Trump's in a lot of trouble.
It's a sign of a terrified old man who feels the
walls
closing in.
The walls are increasingly
Closing in on him.
Tonight, the walls
are closing in.
Today changed everything. This is the beginning of the end.
Today, the biggest tipping point for the Trump administration.
What a historic day. The bombshells, they fell.
It's entropy and it's crumbling internally.
He's underwater. He feels
The walls closing in.
Could his testimony be a turning point?
We may be at a tipping point.
It's the beginning of
The end.
The beginning
of the end.
Another bombshell.
Bombshell. Bombshell. Bombshell. Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
This is a bombshell. It is a bombshell.
I am beginning to resent the word bombshell.
2016, I heard that Donald Trump was running. I thought he was a joke. I said there's no way in the world Donald Trump's ever going to win. And I began to follow the campaign, and I watched him mow down every Republican candidate that he ran against. And I said, wow, that's something that is certainly surprising. And as the year 2016 kept moving on, I started to take him more and more seriously. Until one day he came to my city. I was living in Orlando, Florida at the time. And I was in the library and I was studying for an exam. And I happened to go on my phone, and there was a message there, Donald Trump is going to be in Orlando, more specifically Sanford, Florida, which was like 30 minutes outside of Orlando. And I said, you know what? I'm going, because I want to be able to see for myself who he was. And I called my sister and I said, hey, if I disappear into thin air, it's because I went to a Trump rally in Sanford, Florida. If you know anything about Sanford, Florida is where Trayvon Martin was killed. So needless to say, I was very nervous because I thought that all Trump supporters were racist and were going to be flying the Dixie flags on their big monster trucks and all kinds of things Confederate. And that's what I was expecting as I was driving. I kept asking myself, what are you doing? Are you nuts? Why are you going to a Trump rally? You know there's going to be nothing but racist white supremacists there. And you're black and you're by yourself? So I went anyway. I kept driving. And I drove. And as I got closer to the venue, traffic was insane. I mean, it was bumper to bumper for miles. And I said, why isn't the news showing this? I said, this is something I wasn't expecting so many people. And so finally, when I got there, I had to park a mile away. And I'm like, there's so many people here. And when I got out of my car, I met a man. He was a gorgeous looking Caucasian man. And he walked up to me and he said, hey, nice car. And we just struck a conversation as we were walking. And he said, what brings you to a Trump rally? And I said, well, I'm a curious person by nature. And then I started talking to him about how disappointed I was in the Democratic Party and how I was so unfulfilled and how I was searching for something. I was searching for truth, and I wanted to know who Donald Trump was for real. I didn't want the media telling me who he was. I wanted to know for myself. And so I kept walking, and this Asian guy starts walking with us, and I turned to the two of them, and we were all talking about the forgotten man and woman of America. And I said to both of them, I said, you know what? CNN will never show this. CNN will never show how there's an African-American woman, a Caucasian man, and an Asian man walking to a Trump rally. That's like a joke, right? So they both laughed and we walked. And when I got there, I discovered something so amazing. I walked in and I saw thousands of people of every walk, from every walk of life. I saw women for Trump. I saw gays for Trump. I saw blacks for Trump. I saw Hispanic for Trump signs. I saw, you know, just everybody. And everybody was laughing and talking and joking. And you could feel the American energy. And I looked around and I was like, wow, this is what America is. This is what America should be. Everybody coming together. Everybody loving one another. And just people, we didn't know each other, but just the fact that we were all there together, it just was amazing. And so finally Donald Trump got there and he began to speak. And of course he did the whole fake news and everything. He did his whole bit spiel. But after a few minutes, he began to talk about what makes America great. He began to talk about why he wanted to make America great. He began to talk about the things that meant something to me, like unleashing all of the gifts and all of the enormous talent that we have in this nation. And he said, if you give me a chance to be your president, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to unleash the power of the American spirit. And I just felt like I had gone to the best pep rally in the world. I mean, as I walked away, I was like, wow, yes, I can. And so I'm like, yeah, wow, I could start my own business. I can go back to school. I could just do these things. And I remember listening and hearing his voice. The president, or at that point he was just, you know, the candidate. And I remember him hearing his voice, and I'm walking literally back a mile, and something changed. I walked away with two things that I knew for sure. Number one, Hillary Clinton was never going to beat him because of the massive amounts of people that were there. And number two, he had my vote, because I needed to vote for someone who at least promised to do some things that I wanted done in Washington, D.C. And from that day on, I was able to talk to my siblings, and they changed their minds about Donald Trump. We have visited Washington. We have prayed for the president. We've gone different places, New York, and we've prayed. But for the most part, this channel is dedicated to others who want change, who want to leave the Democratic Party, and who want to be a part of what's happening now. There is the Walkaway campaign. There is Blexit. There is so many other organizations that are welcoming ex-Democrats and people who are independent and people who are disenfranchised with what is going on in America. And I'm an American citizen. I was born and raised here. I'm proud to be an American. And yes, black is the new red.
All right, this is YG Nightstorm, and I'm in Washington, D.C., and look at where I am. I'm at the Lincoln Memorial, and this place is very, very special to me as we take a look at that. The reason why this is so important to me is I want to talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, what President Lincoln signed to free slaves. I think he was on to something, and I think that he was actually ahead of his time. And I think that the people who thought about the Emancipation Proclamation back then only thought that it was just to free black people. But when I tell you that the long-lasting effects of that order is actually affecting our country right now. So many people have been enslaved mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, to problems and things that have held them back all of their lives. Well, I want to tell you right now, you are free. You are free to think the way you want to think. That's going to not only produce results for your life, but to produce results, strong positive results in the lives of others. You are free to help as many other fellow Americans as you can to wake up and have them be free as well. You are free to love others in spite of the color of their skin. You are free to speak your mind and worship God openly without scrutiny. And if anybody were to impede on your freedoms, you are free to stand for yourself, for your family, and for your country. So I want to say thank you to everybody that believes in freedom. I want to say thank you to everybody who has been emancipated, not just physical slavery, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because it is up to you to change your circumstances and your situations. And if you truly want to take advantage of your freedom, then do something today. Stand for our country, stand for our flag, and stand behind our president.